Oh, May 8th, 2001. Dad's watching the movie Glory again in his middle school history classroom. Only this year, the students didn't like it as much as in the previous, which meant that every minute since he got back tonight was extra tense. Maybe Mom cooking the pork chops slightly too well done added to the frustration level coursing up through all 8 rooms of the house. Well, 9 if you count Alvin's room in the basement. But maybe staying down there prevents the bad mood from reaching. He's already back to partaking in the weeds or something. Alvin has the habit of arriving late to dinner after another long time in the restroom. Beauty spa boy has joined us. My dad pretended to celebrate his entrance after another swig from his bottle. No one laughed. Then he slung his head, almost as a vulture would, if it had long hair draped in front of his eyes, over his plate full of barbecue sauce, 2 entire chops, and a mound of Mom's potato salad. The extra char brought no criticism from Alvin, despite Dad's gripe that Alvin needed to leave some of the for the rest of us. We already had servings partially eaten on our own plates, my father's, mother's, and mine. Plus, I'm not the biggest fan of pork now that all the verses in the Bible about staying away from it. So he wasn't robbing me of anything I would miss. Thanks to Alvin's interruption partway through dinner, he saved us from listening to more complaining from Dad about those students of his that just would not sit through a good movie. One would think them more interested being from Chicago, after all. Both my parents teach in or near Chicagoland, which seems to be the reason many of Dad's students have awful behavior in his classroom, or that's the main point under many of his outbursts. Steering Dad's wrath toward himself during one of the worst days of this year was Alvin's way of showing us he could handle a confrontation with Dad. When the yelling ever turned toward me, I could never handle it. I preferred hiding in my room under some covers in my closet. That had been routine so far. It even had 2 sliding doors I could control from the inside of it. One time, Dad's yelling scared me so badly, I rode my bike over to a friend's house and stayed for 3 hours before his mom received a concerned call from about them not knowing my location. His mom's disappointed talk with me before sending me to ride my bike home was the last time I saw him outside of school. He even became mean to me. Alvin weathered Dad's attacks about last night. Windows left open, sheets kept damp, and rank odors taking over. Aren't these typical teenage guy problems? Dad doesn't know this already from teaching some or seeing how television portrays us. Wasn't he once a teenager too? There's even a painting made of Dad and his brother, Alan, when they were about Alvin's and my age. Maybe those beers fog his memory, and then he accuses Alvin of normal things as if they're bad or wrong. Eventually, Alvin sulks off to the sink, clears it for Mom, and wanders down through the basement, dark, to his dirty bedroom. Not sure if the barrage of insults from Dad affected Alvin like it would me, but I am just glad my homework for Mr. Moulet's class needed my attention right away after dinner. It kept me safely answering geography questions in my room. A while after I heard from Mom finish the dishes and retreat to the front reading room with one of her Amish romantic mysteries or something. A low voice startled me to scribble across my assignment. Dad wondered what I was working on. He found me while I was trying to concentrate on homework for one of my favorite teachers, too. As I know my dad likes history, I thought it would serve me well to remind him that my geography class was touring the continent of Africa currently. I expected his curiosity about my assignment to bring him some relief from the stress he seemed stuck on earlier. So when he removed his glasses, rubbed his shut eyes, and took a seat on the bed next to my desk, I knew this would be a longer interruption. But him sighing heavily was an indication of something further distressing him during this surprise visit. Not sure exactly what was bothering him yet, I tested one of the worksheet's questions to gauge his temperature. Maybe trivia would settle him down. Kinshasa's the capital of which African country? Isn't that in Rhodesia? Kinshasa? No way. I'm getting it confused with Tanganyika. Aren't I? They all sound the same to me. Ooh-la, ooh-la. His gibberish pulled out my nervous chuckles, as I would not find any of those names he said on the map of Africa, provided the world civilization course instructor, Mr. Moulet. That's a French name. Mr. Moulet says. He makes sure we each say it Moulet. I know that my own skills in the language are pretty good. I'm getting an A the last semester. This first one of my friends. I'm also getting an A in social studies. It usually sparks good remarks from my dad. Guess not tonight. My answer to the question is actually the Democratic People's Republic of Congo. Does that sound about right, Dad? I looked with genuine concern for his approval. We both like being on the correct side of an issue, don't we? They can't do anything democratic over there. Don't believe it, Shale. It's all a bunch of dictators and thugs butchering their own people. He replied with so much gravel in his throat against my attempt at non confrontational trivia. On a regular basis, Dad would scoff at the names of countries, claiming they're all just sham covers for communism, like the Clintons and those Democrats, he calls them. Whenever a country has the word people in it, like the People's Republic of Vietnam, where my grandparents worked as missionaries until the communists kicked them out, my dad says pee hole instead. He usually gets Alvin to laugh with him, and Leona or Mom will sigh while shaking their heads. I just know to never repeat it in class like Alvin did that one time and got sent home with a note about being a bigot to Asian pee holes, as my dad uh, stated it later. Does my father say these types of jokes at school in Chicago? Could he get in trouble like Alvin does? My desire to simply do well in school could bump into my dad's confrontational side more than I wished. In science, it was the Big Bang. In English, it was needing to always write about my feelings. In home economics, it was the inclusion of boys in cooking and sewing. Now in geography and history, he has a problem with me learning the correct names of countries and capitals on the continent of Africa. Dad, our teacher taught us that it's the most diverse continent on Earth. I said as almost as a defense against my father's behavior. Tiptoeing toward whatever was bothering my dad, I sensed some questions might send him railing sooner than later. When Dad yells, he leaves my room faster, but he also will never let me forget about it either. saving some awful chore for my next weekend. Emptying the gutters, cleaning out the crawl space, organizing boxes in the basement at night. Since African countries cannot do democracies, Dad, is that why those friends of yours with the white robes and hoods on horseback want them out of the United States? Wasn't that what they were doing around the country too during the Civil War in your favorite movie, Glory? His rise to stand had me believe he would storm off. Instead, he stretched his back in reverse, pushing his chest outward. His hands grasped his forehead and slinked back over his balding scalp. It seemed like his knees were buckling as an angry gurgle boiled out in my father's mouth. Anything Alvin ever said was so much less bigoted than my dad's words now. Dad called people far worse than pee-hole during this explosion. I mean, the Bible does have strange verses about groups of people with mysterious names during the Old Testament. None of them seem mean, though. And with the addition of Jesus's New Testament, there isn't any longer Jew nor Gentile, master nor slave, Roman nor Greek, Ethiopian nor Egyptian. How are humans from Europe better than anyone else? Now that seemed bigoted, Dad. Does my dad not truly follow Jesus? Shaylin, our Fingal.